I thought it was really important to start with my experience with you and your company. We've designed 3 homes or built 3 homes, my wife and I, Cindy and I. And I know the last one we built, she had a challenge with designers. Whether they weren't connecting on vision or personality. And she went through a ton trying to figure out what the heck to do. And when you guys came out, for her, it was a breath of fresh air. It went smoothly. And to make anything go smoothly with Cindy when it comes to design is really a hard task to complete and accomplish. So I want to thank you for finding her or her finding you, however that happened. But it's been a real pleasure to have you guys with her and helping her through her tough decisions she had to make.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, she was a pleasure. And I meet with that quite often coming onto a project. Sometimes it's difficult if people have had uncomfortable experiences with their past designers, because it's almost like they're an abused shelter dog. And then they get into a loving home and you have to almost retrain the experience a little bit for them. And as much as you can, understand their hesitations and where they've met with problems in the past. They need to understand that's not going to be a problem going forward, and we're here to support you and listen to what your needs are.
So how do you define the difference between your job as a designer and you know exactly what probably works and in fighting the challenge of a homeowner who has their own vision that probably is off of what should be done?
I think it's a delicate dance, and I think as designers, you are an artist, but you're working in the medium of people's lives, and you have to really collaborate and cooperate with. You got to pick your battles, you know what I mean, and you got to skip a lot of the battles and go after the war on the whole thing. And I feel like that is sort of what we're doing well with at Waterleaf. My business partner and I are just not about bringing our ego into the project. We're just trying to get people the best for their lifestyle. And sometimes I will point out issues that I think might not be a good direction for them, and I just point it out, and then if they still want to go for it, we still go for it.
Right. As you describe your firm, I know designers are at all different levels, from picking a couch or a paint color to full concept. Yeah. How would you describe your firm and what you do?
So I would say we are exactly what everybody needs. Whether you are just working with your first home and you want to come into our store and do a consultation, we do a Designer Friday consultation, and we can work with you on a very limited basis with a limited budget, all the way to what mostly myself and my business partner Jill do is ground up construction. It is always best, we feel, if people can afford the time spent with us, for us to be in on it from the very beginning, because we feel like we designed the house how people live in the home. We try to understand the lifestyle pattern, the family pattern, the priorities, the sports they play, the amount of time they spend at the beach. All those type of things are very important to understand about every job we go into. And it just depends what people really want from us. But I think we are best at starting at the ground up with people and seeing it all the way through to fruition. Then you really get a well thought out, well planned home that stands the test of time, and you are not going to be pigeonholing yourself into these quirky trends or something like that. So we try to really discipline the client's eyes and make them see things that they might not be aware of if they were, just doing this one time. We've done it so often. We say, like, when you walk in from the garage, where are your 4 children going to put the baseball bat and the backpack and the flip-flops and all that stuff? Every space needs to have a reason to descend upon it, and we don't like to duplicate the reason for descending on a space.
Right. Great thought. So we're in Manhattan Beach. How did you end up here?
So I came to Manhattan Beach almost 26 years ago. I am from New York, and I moved out here about a week before I was married to my husband, who is from the Pasadena area. And I moved here and have never looked back. I mean, it's a great, great community. And it was really what I feel like to be one of the only coastal West Coast communities that you have a center of town and a feeling of community with a town center. It's not just PCH running through. So you have sort of that East Coast small town feeling on the West Coast with the great weather, the outdoor lifestyle. So I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan.
How did you find it?
Rick, my husband,
He knew of it.
He lived here. He was from Pasadena. He graduated from UC Berkeley, and right after he graduated, he moved to Manhattan Beach and bought his first home.
So 26 years ago, you were here in town. This was the site of Metlocks, right?
Correct.
You remember what it looked like before?
I do. Yeah.
How do you like the change that took place? Obviously, you're in it.
Yeah, I love it. I think the Metlock Center has really brought something to downtown Manhattan Beach that we didn't have before. You have the opportunity to congregate without cars being on top of you. And I think that's crucial for our densely populated area, because you can be a young mom with young children and let your kids be 12 feet away from you and not feel like the cars are zooming by. So I think Metlocks has been a really great addition to the town.
Great. So you touched on it a little bit, but if you could describe Manhattan Beach as a community, what would you say?
As a community, I think it's very community oriented. I think it is small business oriented. We've been going through a lot right now, and we've seen huge support from our the people in local politics. They've really wanted to help the small business owners in any way that they can. I think that it is a town where you can wake up in the morning and not really know many people and have just moved here and make human connections with people very quickly, because we are living so closely together. And my dad used to say it's sort of like Manhattan, New York, and the beach is sort of like Central Park. But you're sort of on top of each other. You got to get to know your neighbors. There's not a lot of attitude, I don't feel like here. I think people are very neighborly. It's not the right place to come if you want to sort of isolate yourself. But if you want to be part of a community and be involved, it's a great place to be.
Awesome. So design evolves every few years, at least from my perspective and what I see in homes and the design choices builders are making. What have you seen most recently that you could explain that has been current or popular?
I think most currently, considering with all we've been going through as a nation recently, I think what people are really doing is prioritizing their home. Where it used to be where some people would rather be modest with their purchases in their home and sort of let things go a little bit longer because they want to take that big trip. I think people are more hunkering down at home, and they are trying to make sure their spaces really work well. I feel, as we spoke about, I feel like the children need to have a good place to work in the home, to do their schoolwork, or if there's a tutor going to be coming over, they need a place to work in the home. If the work is going to happen with the mom or the dad, it needs to be in a central location that can be accessible to everybody. I think if the husband or wife or whomever is the adult in the home is going to be working from home, they need to have a quiet place that they can close off. And I'm finding people are investing a lot more money into their home offices and their children's work area in the home.
Those are all relevant to kind of what we discovered during COVID. As it relates to actual architectural design and that sort of influence that's going on the inside of the homes as well, what would you say is the current trend with that? Because that's always the question. Like, is this style being
Right.
outdone? Is it too many already built?
Right.
And what should I do? How can I be different? You know, what's your thoughts on that?
That's a great question, and it's asked a lot to me because I think oftentimes people, when they're spending a lot of money, they want to know that they are going to be current. And what I do personally is I actually don't really follow trends. I really try to understand what the person likes. And if they don't really know what they like, I try to massage that confidence and bring it out in them. I am always trying to look back in time at looks that happened a long time ago. Like I built a home here 20 years ago and I used white brick, and no one did white brick. And now you see it everywhere. But white brick was brought into America in about 1915, and it was a very economical material to use, and it was great a way for keeping a house cool in the summer and warm in the winter. So I kind of look back to trends a little bit, and I know you kind of want me to pin down a trend. If I had to, I would say people are just making their houses very functional, very durable, as timeless as possible. When they come to me, they usually want timeless, not a trend.
Timeless is a popular word, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to design. So
Right.
is it real? Are there really timeless elements that you can choose today?
Definitely. And I think there's so much out there on the market now that if you were building 20 years ago, it was more difficult to find those certain elements that called back to history. I think it's super easy to do timeless, and you make the exciting statements in things that are a little bit more flexible through accessories and furnishings and things like that, and if you want to jazz things up. But for me personally, I am always encouraging people not to date themselves with the foundation of the home. And I think it's very easy to do. To date yourself,
Right.
but also not to date yourself. If you are disciplined about it and say, that's really going to pigeonhole me into that look, I'm not going to do that. And you have to stay the course.
Right. There's so many homes that were built 20 years ago, maybe before, that were Mediterranean in design. Are you getting projects today to transform those in light ways to make them more current, and what are those things that you do?
Yeah, so that's definitely happened for us on a very regular basis. So with a Mediterranean home, oftentimes it has a very, what I call a bit more of a fiery palette, where you would have that stained cherry wood or a walnut, and the tile flooring, and your trim in the home is typically stain grade rather than a paint grade. And your exterior is maybe in a butterscotch color or a light tan or a little even more going in the brown direction. So what's happening with what we're trying to do is we're trying to cool down the palette. So oftentimes we'll paint the exterior white and darken the window trim, and on the inside, if the floors were a little bit more of that cherry or a redder tone or an on-fire palette, we'll refinish floors. And then what often I have done is with your casing and your base and crown moldings, I'll paint those as well to sort of lighten things up a little bit, and reducing the amount of window treatments. It tended to be a little bit more heavy. We lighten up and simplify the window treatments. Kitchen cabinets, if we don't want to do new kitchen cabinets, and if they are stain grade, we oftentimes paint them white or a soft gray. Lighten it up. If we did a dark granite we might walk into, we would go with more of a marble or thereabouts, a whiter stone. So it changes it entirely, and you get more of that Spanish feeling, like Santa Barbara Spanish.
Right.
Yeah.
So the recent trends have moved into transitional, right? I think that's a common word used today. Certainly around here, the farmhouse plantation and that design. Any projections of the future and what could be next?
Well, I always like to do something a little bit different, and I like the farmhouse. The plantation, I think where it's a little bit difficult is they really took it to a very extreme degree, so you can't pull back from that. And I think I think it's important that we don't go so far in a direction that, as we said, it dates itself. I think people are getting a little bit more clean with their aesthetic and maybe a little bit more contemporary. I think they're over what we talked about, the Mediterranean. I think the plantation is great if it's done well. But I think people are getting a little bit more cleaner with their style. I think what would be wise as Americans if we gave our homes a little bit more space to breathe and think and ponder things and not have something everywhere. And I think the contemporary, warm contemporary, coastal contemporary really lends itself to that opportunity for a little bit of space to be and have peace in your home. Because on the outside world, things are a little bit more busy, and with technology, we're always go, go, go. But I think in the home, to have a little bit more of a subdued and neutral energy, I think that is something that's going to be a huge gift for people.
So in that regard, you touched on being open, but also now with the need for the home to operate with different priorities, as you stated, and function differently. Is there a pull between having this open space versus more private space so you can have your home study or your home office or your gym and things like that? Are you seeing any kind of challenges with that?
I actually am not. As long as people are very transparent with how they truly live and not about how in theory they want to live. If people are very communicative with me, I feel like I can give them everything. I'm working on a home right now, and it's a half lot down on Ocean Drive, and it's a third home for this family. And this woman, I've done everything on Zoom calls now with her, but she's been very specific about everything she wants. And we are doing it because she knows what she wants, she knows how she lives, she knows she's not tidy, she needs a place for everything. So basically, we're building it like a ship. So everything's sort of thought through. So no, I actually don't find it to be a challenge as long as the client meets me with the realities of what they need.
Great. Your store here, just explain it. You have a design center versus a retail center? Or
Right.
why don't you explain what you have here?
So originally the space that you're in right now was our retail store, and we had our design in here as well. And we only occupied this one area, and that little space back there was where we had all of us sitting. And we were very small in the beginning. It was just my business partner and I, and we had basically 2 people that worked in the store. When we weren't working the register in the morning or she in the afternoon, it was very tight. And we really started to grow. With the growth, we realized what we needed, what the town needed. And then we had the opportunity to take over next door as well. So then for a while, we kept the store down here and we moved our offices up there when we needed more space. And then when we got a little bit more money together, we joined both spaces together and realized our team of designers got so much bigger that we had to move back down into the larger space. So yes, we have retail, we have a website, and we have design.
And what is your website?
It's waterleafinteriors.com and waterleafhome.com.
Just pandemic related. How did it initially affect you, and what now is the outcome of that?
I would say we're very blessed with our business because we have our other businesses here. We have construction maintained a critical or essential business. So all of the men we work with on a daily basis have been able to keep working, so we have kept working. And I actually have gotten several jobs during this whole thing because, as I said, I think people are really prioritizing their home and they want to keep moving on something, because I think People just want to see progress during this time. So much of it is at a standstill that if there is something that they can move forward with, they want to move forward with it. So we have been able to maintain our design business, which is the biggest part of our business. It actually motivated us to launch our online store, which we've been wanting to do for a long time, and we launched the online store, and that's been going great. And then obviously our store was closed, and that was brutal, but everyone sort of pitched in. We have great employees, which I hate to even say employees, our family here. Everyone pitched in, and we were delivering. The girls that worked in the store were delivering all the online deliveries that were local. So we've really sort of adapted and been flexible. I can't say it's been totally smooth, but compared to other businesses that don't have the different entities within their business, we've been very blessed.
So you mentioned you launched your online store during all of this.
Yeah.
Tell us more about what you have online that people can buy and more importantly, feel comfortable buying from a computer screen.
Correct. Well, we launched the online store during the whole pandemic because we knew that was the future of things. And people come to visit Shade Hotel and they're like, oh my gosh, you guys should open up in Rhode Island, or you should open up in Palm Beach, or you should open up in Santa Barbara. So we really wanted to bring the Waterleaf experience around the country. And that's why we basically did it. So we have their accessories, and you can get the Waterleaf feeling very simply through accessories and bedding, artwork. We can fill your bookshelves. We actually do really well with our jewelry line as well. It's a real stop for people now to buy their jewelry through us. So that's been really fun.
Does Waterleaf have, I don't know what the word is, but if you could describe Waterleaf in a sentence or two, how would you describe it?
I would say we're a coastal store that is easily translated to any area of the country. If you want to feel that Southern California lifestyle with a thread of traditionalism, you've come to the right place. So we go to the trade shows every year. We go to about 3 or 4 trade shows, whether it be North Carolina, New York, Vegas, Atlanta, and there might be 4,000 exhibitors at those trade shows. And of those 4,000 exhibitors, we might buy from 100 of them. And of those 100 exhibitors, we might buy 20% of the line. So Waterleaf takes the guess out of what the greats are because we've curated it down and made it super simple. So you can come in here and you know that what you're getting is the best of the best.
Manhattan Beach is broken up into a lot of different distinct neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite place to work? What is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would say I don't have a favorite place to work. I see the pros of every area in Manhattan Beach. I mean, it's so great because if you kind of know your lifestyle and truly know how you want to live, we have something for everyone here. It's amazing. Yeah. I mean, if you don't prioritize a backyard, you got to get in the sand. If you're all about yard and a view, you got to get to the hill. If you just want a great yard and be easy to the freeway, easy to shopping, you got to go East Manhattan. I mean, the tree section is awesome because you get a little bit more yard. You get that East Coast neighborhoody feeling. It's a little bit more traditional. I mean, I don't know a community that really caters to any style you might want to live.